Hello again, everybody. This is John with BestPriceNutrition.com. Today I'm here to talk to you guys about supplements and vitamins and why are they in the media so much, typically with negative headlines, and why does it seem like there's almost a concerted effort on the part of the medical journals right now to come after them. And I'll cite some examples here throughout. And before I go any further, I have a little bit of a cold here, so I apologize if I cough or clear my throat during this video. Now, what I'm talking about here is we've done a series of videos, I'd say probably over the past few months, and most recently we didn't do one, but there was another study that came out about vitamin E. The most recent one that we've done a video on is how multivitamins, and are they a waste of money, that was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine journal. Vitamin D has been in the news, omega-3 fatty acids, and supposedly a causal relationship between them and prostate cancer, and other things too that I'm probably not covering here. From a few years ago, heavy metals in your protein powder from Consumer Reports, things like that. So I want to address all this in whole and give you guys some perspective on this stuff. Now, before going any further, I do want to say that within this industry, there are plenty of soft targets to be had. Trust me, from doctors making a video about whey protein isolate causing cancer, so you should then use his whey protein concentrate product. We have a video on that. I'll link that below. But that kind of silliness should be called out, definitely. But specifically with the medical journals, a lot of these are well-respected medical journals where I'm seeing language like, the debate is over, the door is closed, the multivitamin was, stop wasting your money, enough is enough. That's antithetical to science when you hear those kind of things. Science is about following truth, and it's about leaving open to the fact that the conclusion may later be proven wrong or may be improved upon insofar as, maybe it's not so much this that contributed to it, but it's that, things like that. You don't speak in these absolute terms about the conclusion, so that's why it was a little bit of a head scratcher coming out of here. And now, it doesn't surprise me that these things make it into the media. That's typically what happens with the media. We've all heard that before. The negative news, tends to sell better, things like that. So it doesn't surprise me when I see it in the media. And just take for a second and think, any of you, as far as the media, of an industry or something that you're somewhat of an expert or you're an expert in. Most people are, have pretty deep knowledge about one thing or another. And then ask yourself when you hear it in the media or in the news, are you like, man, they nailed it. That's right, they got it. That's pretty rare, right? And I'm sure sometimes that happens, but by and large, that doesn't happen much. Say you're in the financial industry and, some guy's on there telling you about how great the Amazon stock is and you should buy it at $400. Never mind, they don't make any money, but regardless, that's, just an example, and there's plenty of others. So just think about it from that standpoint. So that's what happens to me when I hear these things with, with nutrition and supplements and things like that. And I hear this kind of talk, and then I, do a video, for instance, on the multivitamins from a couple months back, and I read the studies, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. Look at the population they're looking at. Wait, look at these results. They ignored these positive results. They ignored these studies. They ignore the athletes. There's a lack of context, and it's really, really, a head scratcher. So then, people ask, well, John, why do you think that is? This or that. And as I said in the multivitamins video, do I think everyone gets together and meets in the dark, smoky rooms in the back and comes up with conspiracy theories and things like that? No, I don't think that. However, the amount of stuff coming out, of late in the journals has made me question, hey, what's up with that, And we can't ignore the fact the pharmaceutical industry is very, very big, and the supplement industry is growing, and it's no longer just a little thorn in the side of the pharmaceutical industry. Now, the supplement industry only makes up about 1% relative, it's 1% of the size of the pharmaceutical industry. It's about 100 times bigger, so it is much larger still. So, of course, when you have financial, motives involved, you have to question things. You can go back and you can find, like in the 70s, for instance, there was when Richard Nixon issued I believe it was him, Richard issued the war on cancer. I wasn't alive during that time, but you can read. But the war on cancer, and medical researchers said the only way you can get money for research, for the most part, from the government was you better be researching cancer and trying to figure out how to cure it, because they were going to cure it by 1976 or what have you. So that's when an agenda dictates where money goes and things like that, which is a whole other topic for another day as far as research funding and how involved the government shouldn't be. I don't want to get into that. But that just shows where motive can be. And as I talked in the beginning about what good science really is, where it's a dogged approach to following truth, there's people involved, and people are fallible, and things like that. So what their motives are, I don't know. But what I do know is when I read these studies, the omega-3 prostate cancer one, and this idiotic headline about how omega-3 causes prostate cancer, then you go look, and something as simple as whether or not somebody was taking omega-3 before or after they had prostate cancer is completely ignored. It wasn't even accounted for. But you're going to run with that? Now the media, again, I figure that that's what they do, that's their thing, whatever. My expectation for them is very, very low. But then taking observational evidence like that and just jumping to these broad sweeping conclusions is just ridiculous, because that kind of research cannot establish cause. And these researchers know that. So to do it again is just really in poor form, and they should know better. But if they don't, then that's the old stupid or liar. Take your pick. Neither's a compliment. Another one has come up in the past, with the heavy metals in your protein powder. I talked about that. We have a video on that, where there's just a complete lack of context. Compared to what? Well, when we looked at the actual evidence, you can look at sweet potatoes, spinach, things like that, and they actually have more of a lot of these different heavy metals, it was arsenic and things like that were in there. I don't remember all the specifics of it, but I do remember the context lacking and the fact that the serving size in the protein powder was greatly exaggerated. So it's like, why is this concerted effort out there? And again, as I said, there's plenty of, soft targets, if you will, in this industry to go after and to call out. That do no favors to this industry, especially when there's this kind of scrutiny being applied to it. And there's nothing wrong with being skeptical about things. You should question if there's, if these supplements are efficacious, whichever one we're talking about. There's nothing wrong with that. But these, like I said, these blanket statements to me, it drives me crazy when I see that kind of stuff. I'm checking my notes here to make sure I don't, miss anything here. But the other thing I would say is that there's no panaceas out there. I would never tell somebody that, a multivitamin, for instance, is the cure for all, and, hey, if you just took a multivitamin, it would cure obesity. I mean, that's, of course, that's silly. It's not just nutrient density. That's the single biggest thing when it comes to obesity, is that you take in more calories than you burn. Now, there's a whole other set of people out there that tell you that doesn't matter, which is just a whole other kerfuffle that, whatever, and those people make it sound scientific too. Which is hard for somebody if you're a layperson and you don't follow this stuff, you don't read all this research. It's easy to get sucked into that stuff. So it's understandable from the layman. Now those that are doing it, again, that's either stupid or liar. Take your pick, or maybe just uninformed. I should say. I don't mean to I don't like just to sit there and call people stupid. It's not a nice way to conduct yourself, and it doesn't really spark a debate. That's, you want to have a debate with somebody, and then, here they are rolling out the victim. It's like, hey, rolling out a victim doesn't mean you want to have a debate. It means you want to stifle it. So I don't mean to do the name calling, so I apologize for that. But the point here is that I want you guys to understand that you should be skeptical. You should ask good questions. You should say, compared to what evidence do you have? What's the quality of the evidence? Things like that. And I also understand that some of you, are wondering, hey, how do I do this? So, yeah, it takes time to get better at reading through this research. There's some great resources out there. Another one that came up recently was vitamin D. The guys at Examine.com did a great job writing about vitamin D and giving you some context as to where it can be helpful, where it's not helpful, things like that. So I'll link to that below. But that's a great resource for you guys. If you guys are really into looking into research more in depth, Alan Aragon has the Alan Aragon Research blog. It's a paid subscription. It's only $10 a month, but it's very, very good. I highly recommend it to you guys to check it out if you're interested. He does a really good job of breaking this stuff down. So really what it comes down to is just taking a breath and then saying, hey, what's really going on here? What's the evidence? And again, I'm not one to want to start conspiracy theories and things like that, but I do really question the motives. It's transparent. It's not, somebody conspiring. I can see when I see these things coming on from people who are otherwise intelligent coming out with these claims, and it's like, well, what's going on here? What's the motive? I brought up the financial interest, and maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe it's a biased or just a preconceived notion where, again, these are people, so maybe they're just, well, I'm going to prove myself right. Science and scientists are no different than any other industry. There's some good ones and there's some bad ones, and that's just the truth. unfortunately, good information sometimes when it comes into this industry, it's kind of buried beneath. It's not as mainstream as it should be. Now, hopefully that changes. That's all we can hope for and push for, if you will. I don't want to just leave it up to hope, but there's other ways we can go after that. But that's really what I wanted to get across to you guys, because this has been coming up a lot. And yeah, I just wanted to make clear to you guys that you should ask good questions, and you should really take a deep breath and wonder what's going on here with this stuff. So if you have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. You can post them in the comments section of the video or blog. You could also check us out at facebook.com/bestpricenutrition. If more of this nonsense comes out, trust me, we'll make videos on it. We'll read the research. And if it's valid, by the way, if it comes out and it says this is supplement doesn't work for this, cool. I will absolutely be there to report that as well. So again, I hope you found this helpful, and thank you for watching.